Thanks, Rakesh. And it's such an irony that we talk of leapfrogging in digital and get stuck on small things, right? So yeah, I was able to log in like 15 minutes back, but at the right moment it kind of fails. Okay, so thank you, Rakesh and Pallavi and the entire Shared Services Forum team for this wonderful sessions that you keep having from time to time and brings the entire shared services community together. I think you guys are doing a great job along with NASCOM and really getting the shared services industry now, I believe, 1% of GDP for India. It's amazing. So thanks for that. Coming to the topic that we have on hand today, which is realizing value by leapfrogging digital in the finance function. Right? It's a great privilege. I mean, collectively, I was just thinking that we have more than 100 years of experience in this room. If I take the sum total of the experience in this room, it is more than 100 years of experience. And imagine the wealth of knowledge when we hear some real stalwarts, which I will introduce very shortly, who have kind of gone through that entire experience and 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 of the earlier ways of doing things and the new age and the way it is evolving now. So I know enough and more has been spoken about this topic, but the real meat is going to be in terms of the practical experience that this group carries with them. So without much ado, I would like to introduce the panel. So the first on the screen that I see is Upendra. So Upendra, like me, he's an engineer and an MBA, and his core has been in finance, which is amazing. So I really, admire people who've done engineering as their core and are able to equally dabble in taxation and audits and like any other chartered accountant. So welcome, Upendra.
Thanks,
Upendra
Tanmay.
is currently the group vice president and CFO at Tatacom, and he is steering a large shared services which is into finance and covers almost 36 plants. So it'll be very interesting to hear, Upendra, your thoughts and your journey as we get into this. And in his free time, Upendra is more into sports, cricket, tennis, what have you, and badminton. So he's a sports fanatic. So welcome, Upendra, to the panel.
Thanks,
Uh,
thanks.
I, I have Ashish. Now, Ashish is again is a multifaceted, multiple industries that he has experienced. Currently heading transformation and digital transformation at UST, and for the emerging markets, very relevant for us. Um, and in his spare time, he's like into flora, fauna, and traveling and experiencing wildlife, and he's a wildlife enthusiast. So amazing to, I'm sure you draw your inspiration and this from the nature around you and loves uh, different types of cuisine and red wine. That's the interesting fact about Ashish.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
coming to Sudhir. Sudhir, my dear friend, we're both in the same building. So we work out of the same building in Hebal in Bangalore. Really glad to have you here, Sudhir.
No, same here.
Sudhir again brings with him a wealth of experience in setting up large shared services from really scratch to running them to transforming them. Um, whether it was GE in his early days, then Honeywell, and now with ABB. So I think again a lot of experience that Sudhir brings onto the panel. And very interestingly, Sudhir is now a environment fanatic. So he's into sustainability and he's kind of saved 220,000 liters of water by recycling water in his home for his gardening and of course the kitchen waste and all of that that goes into gardening and plus plastic recycling. and it's for our company, plastic recycling is one of the biggest thing. And Sudhir, you are the champion. Huh? I mean, very true. Great to have you, Sudhir.
Thanks, Tanmay. Really look forward to this interaction.
And last but not the least, Nitin. Nitin is an amazing personality. And as I got to know a little more about him, he's the youngest CEO at under 40 in a large conglomerate, which is into textiles, into infrastructure, into renewable energy, and pipes and plastics. So it's a large conglomerate, and he has uh, designated the CEO at a young age of 40. I think great stuff. And Sudhir kind of embodies for me a combination of mind, body, and spirit. So his day starts at 5 a.m. with yoga, and then of course he plans his day right through with his initial 5 a.m. slot, and he's extremely active on social media. So apparently, um, some of his posts have got more than 1 million views, and it'll be interesting to hear something about it if you have time, Nitin. Welcome to the panel, and really glad to have you on the panel today.
Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you.
So I think I'm really privileged to kind of speak to all of you and on this topic. And let's start. I have 2-3 themes, given that the way the entire landscape, and we have heard so much about digital and digital in finance and digital everywhere. But this session, I would rather, we bring in the more practical nuggets of what you have gone through, what you've experienced, so that the audience can really benefit from that. So at the very outset, let's start with, we are all finance professional here, and this meeting is for finance. And one of the core roles of a CFO and finance as a partner or a business partner is, as I see, in 2 areas. One is to protect value, and the other is to create value. Of course, enabling business results to happen. Now, in that context, technology plays a very important role. Digitization plays a very important role. And I'm sure in your journey, you've seen how it used to be done earlier and what you are now doing to facilitate these 2 big roles of finance. So can I request each one of you to talk of 1 or 2 big examples in your journey, where you have leveraged technology to really either create value or protect value for the business? So let me start with you, Nitin. You want to start and give your thoughts?
Sure. Thank you, Tanmay. And it's a privilege for me that the team provided the platform to share my practical experience with the people. I'm really thankful for the team. In Welspun, till the time we initiated our journey, which was SSC 2.0, we used to known with the name of back office department. And when we initiated our SSC 2.0 journey, somewhere in December 2019, and we introduced the concept of bot in finance and accounts processes. Very honest, the journey was not easy. Apart from its cost impact, we encountered the problem of change management, especially from the shared services employees itself. Because when we are trying to convert, their processes from the manual to auto, it could give them the feelings of insecurity. So to overcome this problem, we established, one virtual face and the virtual name of our bot, that is Chitti. And if any one of you will visit to our shared services center, there is a dedicated seat and the computer of our Chitti. It is just to demonstrate our employees that Chitti is one of the members like them. And our idea is that, our employees should focus on the value added things. And I'm glad to share with all of you that now Chitti is contributing in each areas of finance and accounts. In last 14 to 15 months, whether it's O2C, our 80% of our customers' reconciliations are done without the manual intervention. So Welspun being the the industry leader in the textile business, we are dealing with the Fortune 500 companies. So each customer, they are having their own portal, their different SOPs. Now my bot is that is Chitti. The Chitti is preparing the reconciliations of all the top 20 customers and sending it to my processor at 5 a.m. daily. We also touched the area which was actually the pain area for finance and for auditors also in Welspun, that is the revenue recognition. Can you imagine that in Welspun, especially in textile, our 90% of our revenue is recognized automatically without the manual intervention. And it is just through the e-shipping bills and maybe the details or the data available at the government side. Maybe another area is on the accounts payable side, Tanmay. We are processing accounts payable invoices without touching it through the GST QR code. So we have a big list of Chitti's work because in last 14 months, we converted 63 different processes into through this automation journey. And we also demonstrated that, now GCC are now beyond the transactions, and we are demonstrating it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Nitin. I think that was amazing. It seems that it is real, it is touchless, and you've kind of shown it to the larger team that they are for more than transactional work. I think very true, very true. So Sudhir, what has been your experience in ABB, and what are the one or two big things where technology has been leveraged in finance?
Yeah, so I think quite similar what Nitin talked about. So one is that between 2016 and now, and again, when you look at the landscape of ABB, this was spread across 100 plus countries. And in India, particularly in Bangalore, we have got roughly around 45, 46 more kind of countries operating here. And I would say the backdrop of all this consolidation of so many countries work in one location. One of the biggest enabler was our technology and some of the initial bots we created, because when you bring work from various countries, logically we think that, okay, if 6 people are there, you will get 6 people here. But while we were consolidating, parallelly these automations and bots, various kinds of bots, helped in not only moving the work, consolidating the work, and we'll talk about more on that, but it was also redeeming the productivity. So if there are 5 or 6 people in one location, one country, when we are getting it here, it was not one-on-one. It was with the productivity lever. That's one very big, I would say, leverage which we got, because we could get into the automation very early in the days. We started in 2016. By 2017, the bots were in operations. And quite similar to Nitin, we had allocated work space as a bot. So he is one of those members who will do huddle. What normally the huddle has shifted now, rather than doing a general discussion, the bots which has already worked before the team comes to the shop is about exception handling. If the bot has not handled something, the subject matter experts are now getting into the exception discussion. So the whole language of the hurdle has shifted. And that brings a new kind of a challenge or new kind of a forward view to the employees, right? That is one. Then came another time when we were looking at, spun off one of the very big part of ABB to Hitachi. And this is in a public domain where the power grid, which was one of the, I would say the symbolic segment of ABB power grid, we had to, we worked on integrating that with Hitachi. Again, when you look at the finance team, I think we were the first one to do the whole, integration piece, because a sizable portion of the work was automated. So think of, had this not been there, had the shared services of 40 plus countries not in one location, and this merger would have, or acquisition would have been taken by Hitachi by going to these countries, it would have been a mammoth task. So that's the second one. The third, which we saw recently, which is also when this whole GST and the tax transformation was going on, had it not been with the bots, it would have been a nightmare. And then fourth one, which is a big one, which all of us in every company we are experiencing, is this whole, it took less than few hours to convert our work from office to work from home. So look at from the business continuity point of view, it was all possible because the backbone of that was a technology backbone, which was location agnostic. So I would sum up these four big impact of the technology for us.
Yeah, very interesting, Sudhir. And I think it seems like it's the bots to the rescue, and it is now kind of like you're saying the backbone of the entire ecosystem for it to function smoothly.
Yeah,
That's becoming the norm.
exactly.
Right? So Upendra, how has been your experience and journey in this space of deploying technology and digitization in finance processes?
Yeah, Tanmay. So if I compare with what Nitin and Sudhir said, probably we are at a very early nascent stage. We started our journey 3 years back. But the only, I would say, difference could be we are actually a conglomerate of different legal entities, more than 12, 13 companies, and 36 planned. So the first challenge was the papers used to receive at the various location, how to do it centrally. We are now doing everything from Pune. So what we did initially, use of technology, is that we asked people to scan the document, put it on the server, and we used to access data from the various locations. So nothing was required to be sent by them. That was the initial stage. Now the second stage, which we are just now going to complete, is a complete end-to-end AP solution, what we call as a vendor invoice management system, wherein now, as you know, the biggest challenge or the problem on the AP side is, one, suppliers are not aware whether his material has been received at a particular location. The purchase teams are always shouting whether payment is done or not. And finance team says, we are spending a lot of time answering the queries. So in order to address all these issues, now we are just now going to implement the solution just end of this July, which is basically there will be a portal for the vendor or even for the service providers. So what will happen that they will just upload their invoice on the portal and it will be automatically read through the OCR technology, and it will be scanned and automatically passed based on the purchase order which are raised in the system. For the people who do not want to access the portal, what we are given the facility is that they can send invoice through email, a designated email ID, which will be again read through by the technology with a purchase order in the system and will be passed. So in this entire process, the manual base passing is going to get eliminated. The interaction of the supplier with the purchase team, of whether the payment is done or whether the GRN is made, whether my material is received or not, whether the quantity is matching or not. So all these things will going to get eliminated. So a lot of productive hours will be now spent on probably analyzing the activity. There is one technology I would say which has been done. The second one, if you look at, we are auto component industry. And as you know, in auto component industry, the prices with the customers are also linked to various commodity prices. Probably you are reading in the newspaper also that in the last couple of months, the prices of all the commodities have increased substantially. So there is a normal process with the OEM that any commodity change, whether it's aluminum, steel, copper, lead, nylon, anything, you are supposed to get the price change, either increase or decrease, depending on how the commodity changes from the OEM. Now, this takes a mammoth time because what we supply are the thousands of components, and for each component, changing the price itself is a mammoth task. So as probably like through Sudhir and Nitin also talked about, we also developed a bot wherein the prices are worked automatically based on the formula and are run through a workflow. So there are approval process also in the place, and automatically prices gets updated, sales order gets generated, and the invoice starts getting generated. So the entire manual work has been eliminated with a control also and with a speed. So I would say these are the two important technology changes which we have adopted, which have really helped us in a long way.
Oh, great. I think that was some great examples, Upendra, because I can completely relate to the nightmare when the procurement team, the vendors, the plant teams are all kind of figuring out what's the status on payments, where is the material, where is the invoice, is the GRN made. So I think complete touchless end-to-end process definitely helps. Great. I think that was a great example. So coming to you, Ashish, I think you also wear a kind of a consultant hat in your UST stint, and and you worked in multiple industries. So what are one or two big examples that you would like to share with the group on in the finance space, which has really helped companies?
Sure, sure. Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you for this opportunity. Uh, let me take a step back. Basically, if you look at pre-pandemic, the status quo was that the finance teams and the CFOs were what you call warming up to a fact that we want to do some kind of automation, basically. And if you look at maybe the 2018-19 levels, the steam was really picking up, basically. And that time it was really very difficult, basically, to make finance organization understand that you need to invest some money in technology, basically. And that kind of a thinking process started gradually changing as we were getting into maybe 2019. RPA adoption was one of the areas where many organizations had started experimenting and deploying and started to see some early benefits, basically. But what we saw was that by end of 2019, there was a very, even when the pandemic had not really come in, there was a very significant thinking, and I interacted a lot with multiple industries, including the manufacturing sector. I've interacted with the BFSI sector and so on and so forth, and a lot of finance friends and colleagues and prospects, basically. So one of the fundamental shifts which what we've seen is that because of the change in the dynamics in the last 2 years' time, there's been a lot of customer and demographics change. There's a lot of changes which are happening in the channels to market. The competitive landscape for these organizations is also changing very significantly, basically, and that too very rapidly. Organizations are wanting to come out with, say, new business models. So these are kind of macro level changes. Now, the finance CFO's organization now has to support all these things, basically, because they're a very important pillar, basically. Adding to that, a lot of dynamics happening on the supply chain side as well. All of us know, basically. Now, there was a lot of opportunity, which fortunately the finance leaders have really seen, basically. And what we saw was that they had to now start providing more current and concurrent type of information back to the leadership, back to the board, for them to take what you call more real-time and realistic decisions, basically. So now what we see is the engagement which we are having with the customers, there's a lot of focus on operational efficiency. So while there is a lot of RP adoption, and that gives a lot of operational efficiency at the task level, basically. But now there's a lot of end-to-end kind of an operational efficiency what customers are looking at, basically. And I'll give an example that, for example, one of the CFOs was saying that, listen, I have few $1 million of my cash flow really blocked because of my end-to-end processing not happening in the AP process, basically. And there's a mismatch. I have to allocate and block certain of my funds as soon as I receive my invoices. So this particular CFO said that I receive thousands of invoices per week, basically, and I have to process that. But as a process, I have to allocate some money, which is equivalent to those invoice values by the time I really process. So they have certain ways of accounting practices. And now, when they, and this cash flow which was getting blocked was like a few $1 million, basically. Now, when the pandemic eased out, basically, they saw that there was further surge of like 25% in the number of invoices they actually had to process because they were buying more and more, basically. On top of that, challenges like limited staff and so on and so forth. But the end goal, if you see, was more about how do I free up my cash flow? How do I free up my capital for more productive gains, productive usage? That's the kind of thinking is what we are coming across, basically. And that's something which really is a very strategic shift in the thinking, which we see versus the tactical part. But listen, help me save maybe out of, say, if I have in AP, say 20 people, help me save maybe 5 people, basically. That's not the thinking. It's more macro, more how do I get the impact to the bottom line and so on and so forth, basically. Now, we did a study for their process, and then we figured out how to really, how to bring about more end-to-end kind of a visibility, more end-to-end kind of a capability to automate. And obviously using multiple of these tools and technologies and some of the stuff which UST also brings in as a solution, basically. So we help deliver we help them prioritize that these are the processes which they need to automate. This is going to be a commercial impact. One is transactionally and tactically, and second is more strategically, basically. So this is one of the, I would say, a very simple examples, but the thinking process is very different, basically. That is what we are encountering. So that's one of the examples where I thought I'll probably share with you.
Yeah, no, I think thank you, Ashish. And I think the underlying message that I get from what you just said is that it's like all of us have gone through this, and we've not let the crisis go waste. I think the speed of digitization in the last 1.5 to 2 years has definitely gone up. New ideas have come up in terms of how the people and the work that they do can be made more simpler and easily done from anywhere, like Sudhir pointed out. So I think very clearly the last 1.5 years has given us newer ideas, in the space at which they got implemented has also improved. So I think that was great. So that gives me a good segue into the second theme, which is there was a time which was like before the Corona came in, and then all of us were kind of taken by surprise, and many of us were also responsible for the BCP part of the process. The entire concept of a BCP was redefined, and it was a completely unplanned BCP, which kind of naturally played out. And in hindsight, it has kind of played out pretty well. So the question to you, Nitin, let's say, is as we now move into, hopefully with more and more vaccination and a post Corona period, what are some of the key systemic changes that you see happening in your business or in your function? And what are the key learnings that you want to take forward, particularly from technology, digitization, and in finance as a process? Because I know a lot of things have changed.
So that's very good question, Tanmay. And I would just like to share my personal experience here. I still remember that I was sitting with my team, and we were just discussing the BCP for our shared services. And I think, if I'm not wrong, the date was somewhere 15th or 16th of March. And then suddenly this Janta curfew came along with the lockdown on 20th of March. So the initial 2 weeks, were really tough, because, very honest, we were not prepared for that, especially for that long-term lockdown. But we took this as an opportunity, that we re-engineered all our processes. We tried to make the complete documentation. We tried to make the SOPs, and we learn from the situation. We learn from our failure and implement the system so that we can survive and remain relevant, actually. So there is one famous Hindi dialogue that किसी चीज को दिल से चाहो तो पूरी कायनात उसे तुमसे मिलाने की कोशिश करती है. I think the English translation will be that if you want something with your heart, then the whole universe tries get it for you. So we all were speaking on the paperless before this COVID, and we used to discuss the paperless finance function in such forums, in our discussions. But we never thought that this dream will come true so early during the COVID, and the entire ecosystem or the universe was supporting us for this cause. Whether it's month end, it's limited review, it's audits, bankers, forwarders, suppliers, everyone was working virtually and in the digital way. Before this COVID, we never thought, I personally never thought that I'll have the real-time productivity dashboard of my team in my office. But today we never thought that, we will be out from the shipping bill, which was printed through dot matrix printer by Government of India. And whenever we were submitting that shipping bill to the banker, they used to say that image is not clear. And it was a blessing in disguise that the Government of India, because of this COVID, introduced the e-shipping bill during the COVID, which also helped us to digitalize our export documentation completely. And it is again the paperless export documentation we are managing here. It was the pain point actually for many organizations to convince their vendor for the flip invoicing. And we never thought, again, that the Government of India will introduce this e-invoicing concept so early, which will help us not only to reconcile our textbooks, but shall also help us, our accounts payable team, to have the three-way match without touching the invoice. So, this COVID changed the business conventional thoughts process on the shared services, which was that the shared services can do only the back office job. No, I don't agree on this. Earlier also, I was not agreeing, but now business is accepting that we can manage the complex processes too. There was a thought process earlier before COVID that some manual checks, balances, and controls are acceptable. Probably no. In the new era, you continuously need to work on the automations of all the processes. So COVID was a tough, COVID was a tough stress test for the shared services center. It also revealed weaknesses of many organizations. And probably that is the reasons now more and more organizations are moving into the shared services or the centralizations of their processes. But the organization like Welspun, who were working with the robust BCP and the mature level of digitalization, are the winners.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great set of inputs, and I'm sure a lot of these changes have worked well and thankfully are now going to be carried forward and have set the pace of what is going to come into the future. So I think the conviction on technology and deploying the technology is definitely far more because it has worked for us in the worst of times. Ashish, any thoughts from you in terms of how and what you are seeing as some very systemic changes and learnings that will happen as we move forward, and what you've experienced with your clients? You're on mute, Ashish.
Yeah, sorry, my apologies. Thanks, Tanmay. So one of the most important things what we see is acceptance of the fact that the BCP mode is now going to be a business as usual as an option, which we will always have to plan for. So when customers are talking to us, basically, that is one of the important criteria that we should be able to kind of maintain a hybrid kind of an environment and move to the either side of hybrid, which is on-prem versus maybe work from home or in the office or work from home kind of model with a I would say switch of a button kind of a thought process, basically. Secondly, there is a lot of thinking around that. Okay, the CFOs have now got a larger set of responsibilities. So a lot of, apart from the core transactional and the back office and all that kind of accounting activities, a lot of, we heard yesterday from one of the panel members that a lot of what you call core activities, strategic activities are now also coming under the finance organization's umbrella, basically. And therefore, what we're seeing out there is that there is a larger influence they are starting to play. And there they are looking at how can technology help me, having experience that in the transactional part and the accounting part of the businesses, if they can bring in certain kind of automation, how can I bring in a similar kind of agility to be able to support the business basically in the strategic functional areas, for example, in terms of more real-time visibility from a management reporting perspective, being able to reduce my T+5 book closure to maybe T+1, T+2 if possible, depending on the countries. And I heard that one of the panel members said that they've been able to reduce to T+3 now, which is excellent, basically. There's a lot of challenge which is being put forward to them for new business lines being launched by the business, basically. So how do I make my finance organization so agile that they are able to support the business? So as a business partner to the business, there is a lot of thinking basically, which is coming in out there. So this is some of the what you call trends which we see. And there are basically 4 themes which I see which will continue to be there in the next maybe 2 to 3 years time, basically, there will be a very high focus on the improved operational execution, basically. Second is that there is a need for a lot of insights on the resource allocation and utilization. How can I do more with less, beyond that kind of a thinking, basically. Then actionable insights on the performance, basically. So that's where they're contributing through the strategic functions. And finally, aligning strategy and priorities for effective business monitoring. That's the support which they provide to business, basically. So these are 4 areas where I think that there's a lot of conversation which is happening, how finance can contribute to business, basically. Tanmay.
Right. Yeah, no, thanks, Ashish. And I think that, I think the one which resonated with me was, and also takes us to the next theme, was how can an associate or a new employee who joins us, and if he wants to opt for a work from home, or if he wants to opt from work from office, how do we give him that switch on and switch off option as a hybrid model? And I think that's really going to be the ask as we move forward. So very clearly. So that brings me to the next theme, and I think it is important to touch upon it while we're talking of technology, because all technology, without really thinking about people, without really thinking about leadership, without really looking at how the new way of working is going to be. See, when I think about it, the shop floor, so many of us are from the manufacturing industry. The shop floor continued to function in some form during the crisis, and will get back to their shop floor. The sales teams will be out in the front selling. It is this shared services group which is definitely going to see a hybrid model and really new ways of really adapting to what we have gone through. Now, in that context, let me first speak to you, Sudhir. How do you see the leaders changing, adapting to this? How do you see, and what should we be doing to kind of bring in the same level of engagement, the kind of culture that the organization needs to demonstrate to all its people? And how do you really, I mean, it really beats me, and any thoughts or suggestions would really help.
No, so,
technology projects when people are sitting in multiple locations.
Yeah. Sometimes, Tanmay, when you predict something, it may happen. Huh? So one of the predictions which is coming on this forum from me is that, and I can see more than 100 finance professionals are here on this call. I am wishing that very soon, many of them will stand up at the doorstep of becoming a CEO. And let me qualify why I'm saying so. I think this pandemic is shifting the way business is being run. It doesn't matter which sector, what are you doing. But I think one definite change is going to happen is the speed in which the decisions have to be taken. So any country, any subgroup, any business which takes the right decision at the right time and with a speed, agility, we were all talking about in management books, but I think they have all gone into the shop floor. Now, in that case, apart from CEO of a company, the best person who knows the company cash flow, company data, and that's where the digitization is going to enable it big time, already happening, is the act of taking decision with data facts. And you can extrapolate, you can interpolate, because there are multiple machine learning or multiple AI tools which are going to come handy. So think of a CEO or a CFO. I'm going to take both the teams together, or both the functions together. If they were all driving a bus, they are all driving a fast aircraft. Now just visualize, if there is a bump in a bus journey, you don't wait for the driver of the bus to tell you that aage gadda hai or aage there is a bump, right? We think that, okay, it's a slow pace, so risk is less. Now with the speed going up, we all as the employee, and again I will go back to why I'm referring to this, very important to your question. When you are in an aircraft and the aircraft is going through air pockets, you have nothing to do but wait for that almighty to either save you or the pilot to come on the voice saying that, you know what, next 10 minutes we will have air pockets. I think that is the role of a CFO along with the CEO of a company today. So the CFO, who was the bus driver till 2020, has become a fast aircraft or a Boeing aircraft pilot, which has to steer the company or the organization through these ups and downs. Now, what that mean to us? I think that's a very important point, which Tanmay, you are getting into. The whole concept of leadership in the new world is going to be different. And in our team, we talk about various wellness. The person has to be intellectually sound, which means the CFO has to be well-read CFO going forward. He can't compete with the world's best CFO if he or she is thinking as his role as a controller. Gone those days, right? So CFO and CEO has to be absolutely partner in this process, where the CFO has to be very well learned. So intellectual wellness, I would count as one very important point, where the CFO has to be contextually connected. Why it is also important? Because in the earlier days, I can walk across my people and can review, ask right questions. The person can also come and reflect with you with issues. Now with a sizable portion of the team remotely working, your second wellness is very important, is your communication wellness. What you communicate, how you communicate is very, very important. And that is something which the CFO has to consolidate and own, because you don't have luxury to communicate 20 times in a day, because it will create a lot of fatigue to the recipient on that. And then obviously, CFO, and again, I'm very privileged to have some of those colleagues with me in ABB, who has to be emotionally, they are actually the CHRO of a company. So they have to be emotionally very sound, because, many of us have seen very unprecedented decisions, right? Where the person is on the deathbed and you have to take a quick call and take an action. And I think that's where the CFO of the new generation has to be very, very sound and relevant emotionally. So I would say, to your point, Tanmay, the new age CFO and the finance, apart from digitizing, I think digitization we should see as the support cover what we have. But again, it is a human being who will be at the steering. So the CFO as a CHRO, CFO as a CEO, CFO as a data analyst, CFO as the people manager, CFO as a real communicator. I think it's a whole facet is coming towards that resource. And I think the wellness will be very soon. You will see many companies will have CEO who were ex-CFO of that company, if they really stand up to these steps.
Well, I think that's a very, very interesting and important perspective. And
yeah, they are no more the bus drivers. They are actually the fast pace fighter pilots.
Yeah, and
so that's
I really
the
love intellectual wellness, emotional wellness, and communication wellness. And I think communication wellness again was never as big and as important perspective versus now. And then of course leveraging technology to
remember our days, right? We used to go to the office and we'll do our huddle by sitting at the either top of the table, and the 20 people who will come to the boardroom, by design they will look at you because you are the boss, right? Now actually I might be sitting in a half pant and wearing a beautiful shirt in front of you. Who cares, right?
Right.
But that is the mental frame where you have to do something where you draw the energy of that person emotionally, collectively, and he might be having a problem back home.
Yeah.
How do you steer that? And I think your point is very important. when you are getting the new employees, how do we build that culture? What is the Tata culture? What is the ABB culture? What is the GE culture? That culture is, pretty nebulous now. I think that's where we have to, as leaders, that is a beautiful challenge. And I think a lot of non-value added things which we used to waste our time is all can be given to digitization.
Yeah, no, very true. I think excellent. An excellent analogy, Sudhir, where saying as aircraft pilots, we need to be able to predict that the next 10 minutes of air pockets will be there.
Absolutely. Otherwise, given a choice, everyone will open the door and exit.
Yeah.
And that's exactly true. The attrition is going to hit very hard for those leaders who are unable to hold their team. They will fly. We will have a great, design, but execution will fail. So I think it's a whole beautiful future for all of us. And the CFOs are all next CEOs.
Interesting. So Upendra, how are you driving it in your organization? I'm sure you've also going through new employees coming in, creating that uniform culture, and Tata, of course, is such a conglomerate any which ways. So how are you doing it? Any thoughts?
Yeah, Tanmay, I think it's a valid point, and as probably Sudhir also mentioned, there has been some attrition also. So the basic challenge was how to onboard teams. So obviously our HR team has done a fantastic 2-day kind of a complete onboarding session, which is through digital sessions, and talking right from Tata culture, Tata legacy, Tata Autocom culture, about Tata Autocom, what kind of expected. So it is completely through digital. And also wherever possible, we are asking employees to come to office and even visit the plant. So there is a physical interaction, because though we know through digital, we are able to do lot many things, but still I would say the personal touch or the personal interaction also is far more important, because for a new employee, it gives far more comfort. One, of course, through a screen like we talk about, but when you are sitting across the table, probably the person draws a comfort. I think another important point, like what Sudhir was saying, which we are also trying to work upon, like a CHRO. He talked that CFO has to, play a role of CHRO. One thing what we are realizing that because of this fast pace of digitization, and we are also embark on that journey, the skill sets of the team also need to be improved, because the person, the way he was doing earlier, I would say entire accounting activity, and now the way he has to do has completely changed. So we also need to look at the skill set. We need to upgrade them. Probably we need to train them. And in that, as I rightly said, those other aspects of communication also play a very important role, because now instead of probably across the table discussion, now he has to talk over phone. He has to talk through this Zoom meeting or this kind of video meetings. Obviously, this also skill set we need to upgrade. And second is because, as he said, attrition, and sometimes there is a time lag for onboarding the team. So we also need to develop the multitasking, what we talk about, because then at least, because end of the day, we are a service function. And when you want to give a service, it has to be absolutely seamless, uninterrupted service. So I would say these are the areas where now, post all this COVID and digitization and a hybrid model, like Ashish talked about, maybe sometime from home, sometime from office kind of a thing, we are trying to focus on these areas and trying to see that people are coming up to the level where we are moving ahead.
Yeah, fantastic. I think thanks Upendra. Multitasking and being able to take up roles and being trained in those roles is, I think, again, going to be very, very important as we move forward. So I think let's take a few audience questions. There are some interesting questions that are coming up. There's a question. So we've spoken how we have leveraged technology. I think all of you gave some examples of, or many examples of bots. Is there some advancements? So Sanjay is asking, in the area of cognitive AI, ML, and the cognitive space in the finance function, anyone? If there is any, yeah, Ashish.
Yeah, I can answer that. Okay. So to answer in terms of the advancements in the cognitive space, there's been lots of advancement which has been happening, and there's still a lot of the road ahead or journey ahead which still needs to be covered, basically. So initially, if you look at, there's been a lot of use of standard OCR based technology, and the standard OCR based technology is very, what I call, fixated basically. It's very difficult to use if you have even a slight change in the standard format of the document itself. Maybe a date moves from the left hand side to the middle top side of the page, the whole OCR would actually fail basically. Now, over a period of time, a lot of artificial intelligence based capabilities have actually been brought in out here basically, where you have to extract the information, and then you have to contextualize what this information is about basically. Then you have to classify that for which bucket or category it's going to go in. What's the meaning of that? You have to apply maybe natural language processing capabilities as well to interfere the extracted information basically. And then you have to bring that into a digital format, into a workflow. Now, there are different companies which are approaching this very differently, and there are many kinds of tools and technologies available. UST has built up their own what you call capability for intelligent document processing. It's also trademarked and so on and so forth. So we are doing lots of work also in this area. There are lots of other competing technologies from the RPA vendors also, and so on and so forth. So there is definitely a significant improvement which has happened primarily because the AI ML capabilities, the algorithms which you make, and the way you deliver a solution has been evolving over a period of time. Are we there as yet as a nirvana? My answer is no. There is a lots of grounds to be covered. For example, if somebody would tell us that what's the accuracy on an invoice which you can get, my answer is going to be, I can probably help you start with a 65-70% accuracy and then help you move over to maybe a 85 to 95% kind of accuracy. Can I get 100%? Yes, you can. Can you commit? I will not, because this is there's a lot of other dependencies on that. Otherwise also, there is a lot of other things which is using computer vision for extraction information from digital assets. There is a lot of stuff which is happening out there in different shapes and forms. So there's a lot of journey to be covered, but is it a commercially ready kind of solutions available in the industry? Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. Anyone else would like to add if there's any area other than document processing and reading of invoices? Yeah, so I think clearly that's one space where cognitive has definitely been deployed, and I know of many organizations who have done it successfully, having built their own AI engines to kind of read any and every kind of invoice, and that becomes extremely relevant with now the digitization of, or the digital invoices that is now clearly happening. But clearly the OCR has stepped up very clearly. Thanks, Ashish. So there is a quick audience poll. Can I request the moderator or host to put that up? We can just get some audience participation going. Okay. The question is, what is the most significant change being experienced in finance in your organization? And you have a couple of options. So this is open to the audience to please respond to. Can we see it on the screen?
It looks like it's disappeared. It needs to be brought.
Yeah, it's there. Sorry, okay, that was the question. Day 2. Okay. A corporate digital strategy needs to be truly fronted by the finance function. And the reason for that is, and you have about 5-6 options. Give it like a few seconds.
So, Tanmay, we cannot vote. Huh?
Yeah, I know. I can see that the host and panelists cannot vote. The audience can. So,
see the voting results.
yes.
Would be interesting to see the answers.
Yeah. So would we have the output, Pallavi, or the host? Okay. So you have 35% saying that the digital strategy needs to be fronted by finance because it needs to be merged with overall data and information strategy for which finance is the custodian. Interesting. Yeah, because the foundation is all the data and information. Because if that's not strong, then all of everything else goes for a toss. So finance leadership has the best overview of the design and involves a complete ecosystem on both supply and demand side. Okay. So
Yeah.
interesting, because it's
Yeah.
a custodian of data and information, it therefore needs to be a very critical player in the overall digital strategy.
And
All
even the
right.
subsequent two are also quite important. So 19%, which
Yeah.
the team has given. Yeah, good.
Okay. So I think that was great. What I would, as we come to kind of a near close, I can probably pass on to each one of you for a few minutes, one or 2 minutes each, to kind of share your big learnings as the finance function evolves into a paperless, touchless, real-time insights in that space. And what would be your big learnings that you would want to give or convey to the audience as takeaways? So Sudhir, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. And I think time is less. I will prefer to share this on the desktop, right? If it is possible. Let me know if you can see this.
Not yet. Yes.
Yeah. So, broadly, if I really put, I was thinking, if that is what it is. So first of all, nothing is impossible. I don't think we should start with any thought process that, this is doable, not doable, because again, based on our experience, we have got this automations done virtually in every parts of the business processes, right? Second is, it is important that we are all, I think Nitin talked about, Ashish talked about, this whole thing is around change management. So how quickly and smartly you can deliver the result, because ultimately the CFO also has got a CFO boss, right? So they have to be convinced that yes, it is making sense. So somewhere you have to quantify the outcome and the business impact, which is very, very important. Then while you are doing it, it is important you have a good mix of black belts or process people, SMEs, who can question the process and make it more effective rather than just converting the as-is into a digitized process, right? That doesn't really make huge sense. But then what we learned, and we failed and then we learned also, more the modular the design is, better it is. Because particularly if you're in a global organization, it might be country specific norms which you may have to handle, and that pulls the whole discussion into a slow pace. If you hardcore everything first go, then you can't create those modular design. And that also brings to the fifth important point, is if you can make those parametric subsets in terms of how you create your what you call the logic, I think that brings much better outcome for the digitization. But then the final and the biggest learning is, not everything need to be automated, not everything need to be digitized. So there has to be a good blend between automated and a manual process. And I think I would say those are the broad 6 takeaways which I got. Apart from the biggest one is, the leader has to be at the forefront. You can't delegate the digitization or automations to subject matter experts or a master team, because then you will create an alien group of people who will not get accepted. So the leader has to be in the game for doing it.
Okay, thanks, Sudhir. Upendra?
Yeah, just to add on just couple of points on the paperless. So it has forced, this Corona has forced us really to think through the entire paperless finance, because we had no option, because everybody was working from distant location. Just 2-3 example I would like to say. One important is the import payment, which I think Nitin already probably talked about. We have gone completely paperless import payment. The second also we are just trying to work upon, we hope through get through soon, is utility bill payment, whether it's electricity bill or this kind of thing, where Also, we are trying to see whether those data can be directly taken and can be processed through. So definitely the paperless finance can be thought of, but like what Sudhir said, there has to be some element of manual work, because everything cannot be automated, or sometimes it could be disaster also. So maybe 90-95% automation can be possible, but 5-10% definitely blend of manual or intervention definitely will be required. And these are two examples I thought I can talk about.
Okay, Nitin?
Some key takeaways from my side, Tanmay, maybe my view is that we should strengthen the process first, because it is important. It's like processes are like your skeleton. So we are talking on the digitalization, automation. Say if our processes are not good, then believe me, no digitalization will work here. So we should work on that. And my second suggestion for the team is that we should build the team, and that team should be the separate team from the operational team. So like in our case, we created our value lab. Value lab is focusing on the process improvement and the digitalization journey. Then my third suggestion is that we should make the benchmarking with the best industry practices. We should see what is the best industry practices. So like we should attend such kind of sessions. What we are doing, we are sharing the knowledge. So that's very important for this digital journey. Another point is the customer centricity, because when we are creating any solution, even if it's a digitalized solution for the finance and accounts, we should keep the customer in center. I think, spoke about the change management, because it's very important for the employees. The return on investment, we should not expect that the return will come from the day one from this digital journey. So, however, we need very strong governance on the budget part, because if it will go out, then it's very dangerous. And the last thing is sail this journey, because you are doing good. It's a change management. It's a change management for the business also, to demonstrate this journey to your business, and then only you will be able to achieve the expected results.
Yeah, no, I think that's wonderful. Thank you, Nitin. And that also answers some of the questions that I think Parag Mehta in the chat was asking, like what are the key challenges and what would you like to recommend? So I think that also addresses. So over to you, Ashish.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So from our perspective, from my perspective, what I see is I think building up the talent of the organization to adopt the new technologies and to get into a new mindset would be very, very crucial, basically. So talent, building that talent and nurturing that talent, maybe reskilling the existing talent is one of the important factors, because if you have good, knowledgeable people and the right mindset, then adopting all the digital technologies the change management part and many more things will become far more easy, basically. So building up that digital mindset basically also is very crucial. Second is the finance will become a very important and an intelligent business partner kind of function, basically, and it's already becoming going there in that direction, basically. So and they will be bringing in a lot of insights. So readying the systems in that area, which are more, I would say, which can give you more and more insights, will be very, very crucial. So building up a platform of solutions, basically, from where you can extract the information and draw more intelligent insights will be very crucial, basically. Second is the third point, which I see is we should focus on practicality. Now, what I see is when we speak to our customers, there's a lot of aspiration, but then the understanding and the appreciation of the technology on the ground is not there, basically. So there's a disconnect out there. So there needs to be practicality which needs to be brought into place, basically, so that there's a very practical roadmap which can be built together, basically. And lastly, business as usual will be the BCP mode right now, which we have. That's a fact, basically, at least for the next coming few years. So their automation is going to play a very, very important role in accelerating the adoption of digitization, whether it is GCCs or whether it is any other function for that matter, basically. So we should think of basically building up an automation COE either in-house or with an external partner, so that it helps you keep on evolving as your business evolves, basically. So these are some of the key takeaways which I have.
Yeah, no, I think, thank you, Ashish. I think wonderful. So we are like almost done with our time, and I think it was extremely enriching to speak with this panel. I think there have been some great learnings. Very clearly, the last 1.5 years has demonstrated the speed at which digitization has happened in the finance function to ensure that the organization continues to perform the way it was, and it's taken to the next level. So that's very clear. Second, I think I picked up on what Sudhir was mentioning, that we are now in a aircraft and not really in a bus, and we now need to predict the future in terms of, next 15 minutes is going to be air pockets, and that's the headset where technology and digitization is definitely going to be a big enabler, and that's what we are seeing. There are examples of cognitive coming into usage in finance, and more. I think what you called it, Chitty, right, Nitin? Your bot is called Chitty, and you've demonstrated how the Chitty as a concept can take out all the transaction pieces of the work. And frankly, finance was always a function which was not very work-life balance oriented for its people. And I'm sure whether it is month end, quarter end, year end, whether it is 25th December or a 31st December, finance team is always at it. And with the kind of chitties and the bots, I'm sure the real-time close and a better work-life balance is clearly on the way. And I think very clearly, Upendra, the multiple plants and entities that you're managing and really getting to removing the noise from the system and bringing in more visibility through your end-to-end payment process and complete digitization of that process is clearly an example of how we are kind of creating value for various stakeholders in the entire chain. So really, thank you very much, everyone, for your time. It was great, I'm sure, and I hope the audience has taken away a lot. There are some questions which, in the interest of time, we couldn't answer, but I'll request maybe Pallavi or the host to kind of capture the question, and we can always answer it at a later date. So back to you, Rakesh.